The smell of salt and fat fills the vast empty hall, a warm and living scent in a place that has been dead for years. The firelight throws dancing, monstrous shadows against the cold stone walls. He lifts the flask to his lips, the wine a welcome warmth against the night's chill. And that's when he hears it. Not from the door, not from a window, but from deep within the chimney above him. A voice, a thin, weeping thread of sound. He swallows the wine, sets the flask down carefully. The voice is closer now, a sound of pure, unending sorrow leaking down into the room like smoke. He thinks it's just the wind, moaning through the ancient stones. He's wrong, because what comes next isn't a whisper, it's a warning. Welcome to the thing. The night holds secrets, and tonight one of them will reach you. Esteban the tinker feared nothing. Not God, not the devil, and certainly not the sad, tired ghosts that were said to haunt the old castle on the plains of Toledo, while the good wives of the village whispered of a strange light that flared from its chimney on All Hallows' Eve, a voice that wailed through its empty rooms. Esteban just chuckled. He was a man who liked a hot meal, a good drink, and a warm fire. And the haunted castle had a fireplace, big enough to roast an ox, so he went. He left the villagers and their fearful prayers behind, his small donkey loaded with bacon, eggs, and wine. The castle loomed against the bruised twilight sky, a jagged tooth of a building, all shadows and silence. The air was stale, thick with the dust of forgotten years. Bats beat their soft, leathery wings in the darkness of the great hall. But Esteban was not a man to be troubled by such things. He built a fire, a roaring, defiant blaze in the heart of the darkness. Soon, the golden light pushed back the shadows, and the cheerful sound of his dinner cooking filled the oppressive silence. He was just about to turn the bacon when the voice came, a miserable, thin wail from the black throat of the chimney. Esteban just moved the pan so the bacon would brown evenly. Not a very cheerful greeting, he said to the empty room, but bearable. The voice sobbed again, closer this time, and with a note of pure terror. Look out below, it shrieked. I'm falling. Esteban glanced up from his perfectly crisping egg. All right. Just don't fall into the frying pan. It wasn't a log. It wasn't a bird. It was a leg, a man's leg, clothed in brown corduroy, lying on the hearthstones a few feet from his fire. It didn't move. It just lay there. Esteban stared at it for a long moment. Then he took a bite of his egg and a sip of his wine. The wind howled outside. Rain began to beat against the high, dark windows. Another shriek from the chimney. Look out! A second leg, lying beside the first. Now there were two, a matching pair. The voice roared again, no longer thin, and down came a torso, clothed in a blue shirt, landing with a heavier thud. Then an arm, and then the other. Esteban finished his meal and watched the fire, his face illuminated by the flickering flames. And all around the hearth, the pieces of a man lay scattered like a child's discarded doll. He was just wondering what could possibly be left when the voice thundered, a sound that shook the very stones of the castle. The head, it tumbled out of the darkness and rolled to a stop, its dark eyes staring directly at him. And in the terrible, ringing silence that followed, the pieces began to move, not quickly, but with a slow, deliberate crawl. A twitching, dragging, pulling, each piece drawn to the others by some unseen, unholy magnetism. An arm slid across the stone to meet a shoulder. A leg jerked and connected with a hip, until finally the head rolled and settled itself upon the neck. And a man, whole and complete, stood before him, the firelight flickering in his dead eyes. The ghost didn't want revenge. It wanted peace. It told Esteban that it had been a man, murdered in this very castle, cut to pieces by thieves who were after his buried treasure. His soul was trapped, bound to the place where his body had been so violated. "Help me," the ghost pleaded. And Esteban, the man who feared nothing, simply nodded. He followed the ghost out into the rain-swept courtyard. He dug where the ghost pointed, and he found them, 3 bags of coins, one of copper, one of silver, one of gold. The ghost asked him to give the copper to the church, to keep the silver and gold for himself. And with that final act of charity, its soul would be free. Esteban did as he was asked, and as he held the coins, the ghost began to fade. Its clothes, the brown corduroy and blue shirt, simply crumpled to the ground in a heap, empty. The specter was gone. When the terrified villagers came the next morning, expecting to find Esteban's lifeless body, they found him happily making an omelet over the fire. He was alive, and he was very, very rich. They say he lived out his days in contentment. But surely, no one could spend a night like that and remain unchanged. To know with absolute certainty that some things, when they fall apart, can always put themselves back again. And with that, the night swallows this tale, but another waits. This was The Thing.